What's going on, everybody? Bryan Fonseca checking in on behalf of the Action Network, and we have a couple of fights to get into that are going to air this Friday on ESPN, not Saturday. We have other fights this Saturday that we also did picks on. You should check those out. PPC on Amazon Card, but today we have on ESPN, we have Seniesa Estrada and Yokasta Valle finally unifying all 4 minimum weight championships to determine who's going to be undisputed, and that's in the co-main event. Should be the main event. The main event is Oscar Valdez versus Liam Wilson. That's going to be for an interim WBO championship in the junior lightweight division, 130 pounds. Let's start with the co-main because it's the fight that, frankly, I'm most interested in. Estrada versus Valle, damn near 50-50 fight on the betting line, pretty much is in terms of how boxing betting is typically listed. And Seniesa Estrada is the favorite here, rightfully so. She is on ESPN. She is with Top Rank. She has the promotional backing on her side. She has a better resume than Yokasta Valle, and she is undefeated, whereas Valle, who's a big star in her native Costa Rica, is entering just her 4th bout in America. So that puts her at an immediate disadvantage. She's a slight underdog here. The fight is expected to go over the over-under and is expected to go to distance all 10 rounds. It's just a matter of who do you think is going to win this fight? To me, I think Yokasta Valle could win this fight as an underdog, but it goes against one of my rules, being that if you bet on an underdog, they have to have finishing ability. I'm not saying Yokasta Valle can't knock out Seniesa Estrada or anybody for that matter, but in women's boxing title matches, you have 10 2-minute rounds typically, and men's boxing title matches, you have 12 3-minute rounds. That gives you a 16-minute difference, which is essential, which is why we don't see as many knockouts in women's boxing that we do in men's boxing. It's not a power thing, because we could see more knockouts in women's boxing if they had more time. It's really all it comes down to. So ultimately, if I'm betting on an underdog, I want them to be able to win by knockout if possible, because if you're betting on an underdog who can only win by decision, you're going to need them to really overcompensate. And you only get 10 rounds in this scenario. So that means you need Valle to dominate 7, 8 rounds, maybe to get a fair shake from the judges, maybe to get a draw, maybe even dominate the entire fight to get a decision in her favor. Seniesa Estrada's last fight, many thought that that could have gone either way. She ended up winning 97-93 on all 3 cards, despite the fact that the punch stats were very similar, despite the fact that she was getting hit a lot, and despite the fact that it was an action fight that really could have been a draw if you look at it. But I had no problem with Seniesa Estrada winning a close decision. So all this being said, as much as I think Valle could win this fight, and I do think betting her on the money line is something you can live with, I think Estrada's going to win this fight because I think if it's close, it's going to go to the favorite, the one who has the promotional backing, the one who, unlike Yokasta Valle, who apparently is on the last fight of her Golden Boy contract, which Estrada pointed out in a face-to-face that they had on ESPN, Estrada is somebody who is more so in the driver's seat promotionally, where I think if the fight is close, it's going to go to her. And she is the action fighter. She's somebody who's going to push the pace. She's going to have a higher output, more than likely. So because of the pressure that she's going to bring forth in this fight, and because of how I think this is ultimately going to be judged, I would favor Seniesa Estrada getting the decision here, and I think Yokasta Valle is going to have too much up against her and is not going to be dominant enough to get a decision because Seniesa Estrada, along with having the promotional backing on her side, is also that good and is also arguably the best in the world at this weight class, which is why this fight is happening, because we're trying to see who the best is. On to the main event. We have Oscar Valdez, 31-2 with 23 knockouts against Liam Wilson, 13-2 with 7 knockouts. Both have a couple of losses on their resume. Both have a couple of recent losses. Oscar Valdez comes into this fight having lost 2 of his last 3 bouts. One against Emmanuel Navarrete, who also defeated Liam Wilson. We'll get to that in a second. And the other against Shakur Stevenson. Both of those were by decision. Liam Wilson has 2 knockout losses, one in round 5, one in round 9. The round 9 was against Emmanuel Navarrete, who he actually dropped early on in that bout in round 4. It was a close fight early on, but it was a classic Emmanuel Navarrete performance where Navarrete gets sloppy, and then all of a sudden you get the highs and lows of the experience. He gets dropped early, and he ends up collecting himself and finishing the fight late. Oscar Valdez is a little more technically sound, but he lost to Navarrete because Navarrete just seemingly put it all together that night, and the pressure and the length was too overwhelming for Oscar Valdez to navigate. Oscar Valdez is going to have a slight height and reach disadvantage here, but ultimately I think he wins this fight by knockout. Liam Wilson's been dropped 5 times in his career at least. I think Oscar Valdez is going to get the stoppage here against Liam Wilson, who been knocked out twice already. Valdez hasn't gotten a knockout in a while. It's been about 3 years, but I do think he gets one, perhaps to the body. I think ultimately he's going to wear down Liam Wilson and test him from the inside, and he's going to do it from the jump. So Oscar Valdez gets knockout TKO here at plus 260 in one book, plus 180 in another, but let's get that plus 260 at one prominent book. So there you have it. We're going to go with Seniesa Estrada to win by decision and Oscar Valdez to win by knockout or technical knockout. That's all we have for today. Make sure that you check out our boxing content on the Action Network's website and on the Action Network app. Take care.